started. If you have a cell phone, if you could just turn it off or put it on mute, that would be great. And I want to thank you all for coming out, especially with tornado and heavy thunderstorms and pouring rain. We really appreciate it. A couple of things you have, handouts you have on your chairs. One is coming up on Saturday, June 2nd, is our annual Customer Appreciation Day. And that's from 9 to 5. It's our way of saying thank you to you, our customers. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here, and we really appreciate it. Everything will be 20% off. That's 9 to 5. We also are going to have a bunch of our vendors. A lot of them are listed on the back. They'll be here from 11 to 3. They'll have samples, they'll have literature. You can ask them any question, try to stump them, but they're all great, great people, and you can learn a lot from them. Also, these two lovely people will be downstairs cooking delicious food to sample, and it's going to taste delicious, but with Bridgitte on top of it, and Melissa being making sure everything is good quality, like she feeds her kid, her child. It's delicious and very healthy. We also have another lecture next month, and Bridgitte and I are going to be doing that on digestion, elimination, and how to feed the microbiome. So make sure if you're planning on coming, you reserve a seat. And lastly, I've been talking about the testing for DNA and the analysis and figuring out what you can do to be healthier. With the DNA testing now, we can get right down into the mitochondria and right down to the different pathways. And there was some problems with the testing where they weren't testing enough of the genes, and that's been rectified. So there's a brochure about that. If on the back, gettoknowyourdna.com, that's a private site out there, and it has a couple of short videos that really help explain what knowing about your genes can do to help you either with your current health or prevent problems down the road. And with that, I'll turn it over to Melissa to introduce the lecture.
So, the temperature okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So, Bridgitte, some of you may have already met her. She's been with us for almost 2 months now. Yeah. She is a functional dietitian, which I'll admit, that makes me think of food, meal planning, prep, and all that sort of thing. But she has brought so much knowledge and wealth to our business. And she can speak a little bit about what she does also here. I will be able to provide everyone with some knowledge on the products that we have related to your skincare. I have my master's in mental health, so not really relevant to gut health, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. And we're going to start with a shot of sea buckthorn oil. Is anyone opposed, or I will just go around and hand you one? If you don't want one, that's okay.
What is it again? What is it?
Cebu is a company that makes products with sea buckthorn oil. So this one is it's their pure, so it's an omega-7, and you would use it for, we have people use it for overall skin health, for dry eyes, vaginal dryness, all sorts of things to increase your moisture, basically. But it's good for internal. It's a way to get an omega without using an animal product. So they have ownership over land in Tibet, and they harvest it twice a year, and they use the people of the land to help them harvest it, and they are able to provide for their families off of the 2 harvests, which is really cool because they can give back. But it's the pure blend, so there's nothing else. There is a juice one that we have upstairs as well, but you have to take a lot more of it to get the omega-7s. So in one, they recommend a fluid ounce a day. You get a lot. In that 1 fluid ounce, you would get 721 milligrams of omega-7 and some 3 and 9. But so, if you'd like. Morning, it's a little bitter,
but it's good.
Little.
All right, well, Thank you, and hope you enjoy your sea buckthorn oil. Like Melissa said, super hydrating and a great way to get some omega-7s in. So, like Melissa said, I'm Bridget. I'm the new dietitian here. Show of hands, who knows what integrative and functional means? Yes, some. Okay, awesome. So for everyone who doesn't know, the integrative piece really means that I'm just not only talking about food, but I'm looking at the whole person, thinking about sleep, stress, and movement, really being part of the equation of total health. And then as a functional dietitian, I get to the root cause of disease and try to rebalance that. So instead of, I have a headache, let's think about why you have a headache instead of just simply ibuprofen. Or I have high cholesterol. Well, there's a reason, and for everyone it's super different. So I really take a very individual approach. So I will be giving some recommendations today for skin, but like I just said, everyone's very individual. So Gary and I both offer individual consultations. So that's the best way to get individual recommendations for yourself or your family. So if we want to get started, how is the sea buckthorn? Good? Interesting? Yeah. People get hooked on it, and really you can tell a difference in a month, so you can stick with it. We also have capsules too if you don't love the flavor. Alright, so we're going to get started. Okay, so the skin, it's our biggest organ, of course, that we've all heard. It is really our barrier to the outside world, so it keeps bacteria out, it keeps viruses out. And it's 16% of our body weight. That's wild, right? So we need to care about it a little bit more. And there's a microbiome there. You know, we've heard of our gut microbiome. It's really the environment, the good and the bad bacteria. But topically and externally, we really have a microbiome there too. So thinking about that, Melissa will share with us some wonderful products that support a really good skin microbiome. And so if there are changes going on in the skin, it really is just telling us what's going on inside of our body. So it's pretty cool because it's giving us some clues. So we're going to go over some disease states today that kind of give us a clue what's going on internally, and talk about different organ systems that we could focus on to help our skin. So really my goal when I'm working with someone with a skin condition is getting to the root problem, root of their disease or condition. And I do that with a really long questionnaire, sitting with the person for a long time and figuring out what's been going on. So for everyone that is really different, again, I'm going to give some general recommendations of what's been researched for each condition. But again, it goes back to the individualization. What's going on for you? So these are the basics of skin health that pretty much with any condition or just to support really nice skin. So we first have hydration. I think this one is really overlooked. You know, probably 8 times out of 10, the person sitting across from me in my office says, well, yeah, I should drink more water. Yeah, but why is it important for you? The skin is really one of those. It's going to give it its plumpness, its moisture, everything like that, so it's really important. And we can do a simple skin turgor test to figure out if we're dehydrated. Of course, as we age, your skin turgor, it'll stay up a little bit longer, but it's still a good marker. My dad likes to use that as an excuse. Oh, I'm just old. That's why my skin's staying up. No, Dad, it's because you've had a half glass of water today. All right? So a good recommendation for water is half your body weight in ounces. So if we have someone who's 150, about 75 ounces of water is a good recommendation. A little bit more if you're exercising, and a little bit less if you've never really even consumed that much water in the first place. The second thing is our omega-3 fatty acids. So these are the fatty acids that are in fish, mostly, you know, fatty, oily fish like sardines, salmon, and mackerel. And then there are also some amounts, although not as well absorbed, in flax and chia seeds. So those are the plant sources of the omega-3s. The astaxanthin in there really protects against UV damage. So it's super important, especially now. And then also, I have a lot of recommendations of sustainable sources to eat. So ask me if you want those recommendations.
Hey, Bridget.
Yeah.
the sea buckthorn has omega-3 in it also.
Awesome.
So it's mostly for your 7s, but it also has 3 and 9.
Perfect. So we're supporting that skin in another way too. Important thing to know about plant sources, though, not as well absorbed. So when we think about vegetarian and vegan, just something to think about. You have to eat a whole lot more of them than if it was from an animal product. So something to keep in mind. And antioxidants, so these are vitamins E and C and then beta carotene. Brightly colored fruits and vegetables. They're really going to support your skin. And we're going to talk about this pretty much in each condition, but the basics of skin health, really supporting it with the brightly colored fruits and vegetables, green tea, dark chocolate. I bet it's great to hear to eat more chocolate from your dietitian, right? Or just an antioxidant. A really high quality multivitamin will have a good amount of antioxidants as well. And then stress. Something we don't really think about too, that it'll affect our skin. But when we're stressed, our body's pumping out a lot of cortisol, and it's stimulating an immune overreaction. So we can sometimes see that on our skin. That's one of the first questions I ask people. Oh, I have eczema, I'm itchy, things like that. It can be, a couple different things, but a lot of the time it comes back to, well, how stressed have you been? And that's usually a factor I've seen with my clients. So atopic dermatitis is kind of what we think of as sensitive skin. Babies get this a lot, and there are a lot of nutrient deficiencies that have been researched that can kind of correlate. Vitamin D is super important. When I look at vitamin D with a client, I really want to see it above 40. 50, 60 is kind of optimal. Right now we're looking at deficiencies in the doctor's office of under 30, but I want that a little bit higher. And for skin health, it's really important. You'll see that in most conditions. Zinc supplementation here as well for that immune response. And then some symbiotics. So what these are, we've probably heard of probiotics, right? But prebiotics help feed that good bacteria, the probiotics. And if we put them together, they're called symbiotics. So we have a couple different products here that do that. And so that's really been researched to help with this atopic dermatitis, this just kind of fussy skin. And then it's also been researched that probiotics before and after pregnancy really help the infant if they're breastfeeding. So this just kind of goes back to the gut. And we're going to talk about the gut a lot in a little bit, but how much of it is showing us on our skin what's going on in the gut.
Bridgitte, what does atopic mean?
Atopy is just like abnormal,
Oh, okay.
right? Yeah. Acne. This is a really common one that I get questions about, or not even questions, just kind of like, yeah, well, I have acne, there's nothing I can do about it. When it's really not the case. I think here a lot of food interactions, specifically the research has been done on dairy. So for eliminating dairy too, we really want to make sure we're eliminating whey. This is important in my teen population, that, yeah, I've eliminated dairy, cheese, milk, but we really want to eliminate that whey supplement too. And moving away from this very processed, inflammatory diet that we think of in Western culture. A lot of fried foods and things like that, so very anti-inflammatory, having a lot of those omega-3 rich fish, brightly colored fruits and vegetables. There's going to be a little trend here, but really moving towards a more anti-inflammatory diet. And then for cystic acne, we want to check hormone levels, balances of estrogen and progesterone, which we can actually do here, which is really cool. And then just provide some liver support. So we have a couple different items. I have Dr. Gary's favorite homeopathic remedy, detoxifier. You want to do 6 drops at night. Melissa's giving a little shake.
Yeah.
She likes that.
Especially if you've had a little too much to drink.
Yeah, right. And then super milk thistle. And we'll go over a little bit more liver specific, but this is going to support your phase 1 of liver detoxification, which is really important.
Bridgitte, what is something that how would we check hormone levels here?
Either urine or saliva.
So we have test kits?
We have test kits, yeah. So it's more helpful if the woman is not on synthetic hormones that we can test them, because obviously then you're not adding to them, but yeah, most people it's really helpful. Yeah.
What would be examples to eliminate weight?
See that? What would be an example?
Yeah.
Pretty much just supplementate like a protein powder.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So with the dairy, of course, butter, cheese, milk,
Yeah.
the easies. But then the thing that I always get caught up on is, well, yeah, I've eliminated all those. It's not getting better. But the protein powder, a lot of them have whey.
Okay.
So switching to something like a collagen or something that's plant-based, like a rice, pea, hemp type thing.
Thanks.
Yeah. So these are the best supplements for acne. Again, really going back to the gut, and a lot of research has been done on that, specifically with the 10 to 30 billion, which is kind of a moderate range. The higher the dose, they've had more success with influencing acne. These are some different strains, and we have these upstairs, so if you have questions on those. And then if you're adding a prebiotic, again, this is something that beats the good bacteria. It's really important too. The supplementation, vitamin D, calcium has actually been shown to help reduce acne symptoms. Again, your omega-3s and your zinc to support, omega-3s to support a whole bunch of things, but have been researched, and then zinc for immune support. So then rosacea. Does everyone know what this is? I first remember seeing this on my grandfather when he was in his 70s and 80s, and we just thought he was so cute with his red fleshy cheeks. But come to find out in my studies that it's actually very closely related to the microbiome and what's going on in the gut. So probiotics are really important here. For some people, there can be different triggers in different foods that'll actually make it more red. So cold foods, even really hot foods, caffeine, and then things that contain niacin can give you what's called a niacin flush. So that can be the rosacea too. So if you're taking a supplement or any of these different foods.
So you have chicken breasts up there, what about the chicken thighs?
Chicken breast just has a little bit more.
So you should avoid all chicken?
Again, it's if you notice it's a trigger. So then it goes back to the individualization. These are just things that have been well researched. So really taking an individual view. Does this affect me? If I eat chicken, do I notice it gets worse? One of my roommates in the past noticed after I told her about this presentation, hot foods. Like she'd have her coffee in the morning. Not only does it have caffeine, it's a stimulant, but it's hot too. So she took that out and her rosacea got a lot better. So it really goes back to every part that we're talking about, any part that I talk about or Gary talks about, it really goes back to the individual person. So figuring out if that's something for you or something you know. So then eczema. This is probably the biggest skin complaint that we have people come in for. It's dry, flaky skin. Sometimes they break open. Most of the times it's on the hands and the elbows, sometimes the legs. And it can be really painful. So for people that have eczema, I found that they're very open to a lot of different alternative discussions and sometimes they've had with the dermatologist. So again, we're going back to the microbiome and we're going to talk about this 5R approach to healing the gut microbiome a little bit later. We're thinking about an anti-inflammatory diet here being super important. And they've also found that turmeric kind of reduces inflammation. So again, we're thinking of this inflammatory response. So things that can be taken internally to reduce the inflammation. One of my favorite things is the Curcumin. So it's a very highly absorbable curcumin supplement. So curcumin is the active form, the very anti-inflammatory compound in turmeric. So if you took one of these, you'd probably have to take 50 turmeric supplements. So it's very potent and really important in any disease state. So
Can you say what that is, the 5R?
5-hour approach, we're gonna go over it in a second.
Okay.
Yeah. And then psoriasis. So this is more chronic usually, and it can get a lot more nasty. Again, same places, but weight reduction is very important here. Smoking cessation, if the client is still smoking, is really important. Again, it's going to produce that inflammatory response. and be very stressful on the body. Gluten, eliminating it has been found really important and helpful. Again, we go back to the gut here. Gluten not supporting the gut, and it also being inflammatory. Alcohol is super inflammatory as well. And Mediterranean style diet, show of hands, how many people are familiar with that? Yeah. So it's a very anti-inflammatory diet, high in fish and olive oil, really low in the saturated fats and meat, and super abundant in the vegetables and brightly colored fruits. So supplementation here, again, we go back to the omega-3, the turmeric to reduce the inflammation, and neem has actually been found to be really supportive as well. Why it's helping here is really the antimicrobial properties, and the research has shown it to be important for 8 weeks. So you really got to do something for a period of time.
What's neem? I don't know what that is.
Neem, it's a plant.
Oh.
Yeah. And then here, checking vitamin D and B12. You'll see vitamin D come up a lot, and getting it checked, like I said, that level of 50 to 60 is really helpful and important. We're going to take a quick break and have a little bit of an antioxidant-rich smoothie. But do we have any other questions right now?
Ready for a smoothie?
Yeah. So if you want to get up and go to the bathroom or grab a smoothie in the back, we also have samples of skin products.
I wanted to ask a question about the turmeric, and it said 2 grams. Is that out for psoriasis? Is that a lot, or is that?
It is kind of.
That
Yeah.
is a lot.
So
you
this
wanna-
is, it is high. So this one you would have to do 4 capsules. And this is our highest potency
to
in
get
one
to 2
capsule.
grams.
Yeah.
So if you don't do 2 grams, does it make sense to not? I mean, do you do it if you don't do?
I would do it and see if it works for sure. Turmeric will help with so many other things. Just general inflammation in the body. Yeah.
So it doesn't do harm if you take
No. If you took a mega dose, maybe 10 grams or something like that, maybe you get some digestive upset.
That's 4 caps a day,
For what's been researched for psoriasis, yeah.
but could you take, as she said, 2? Say
Sure.
1 in the morning, and
Yeah.
get some benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Is that the BCM 95?
Yes. And we have a
Terry?
couple, what's
Is
that?
that the
Terry
Terry?
naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Yeah, and there is some other ones. If you have a couple different things going on, they have some really nice blends too that help with joint support and muscle support. Everything like that. All right. So we can grab a smoothie and just grab some products. Everyone looks a little tired. Are you tired? Am I boring?
It's the rain.
It's the rain.
It feels good.
All right, so let's get started again. Do we like our antioxidant-rich smoothie that had our bioproteins, collagen in it, some berries, and mango. What else did we do? Some coconut milk, almond milk. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about like how to heal. We're going to go over the gut and go over the liver and kind of how to support those things. And then some anti-aging nutrition, which is kind of one of my favorite topics. So we'll go from there. And then Melissa's going to talk about really important topical items that don't have crap in them. It gets a little scary once you start thinking about what's in our skin.
naughty ingredients is what
Oh,
Naughty.
okay.
I like that.
That's what I call them.
Okay.
Naughty.
No. Okay, so next month we're going to have a whole discussion on the gut, but really we can't talk about anything without talking about the importance of gut health. It's the center of our health, and 70% of our immune system is housed in the gut. So if we think about any immune reaction, allergies, skin reactions, it all starts in the gut. So if we heal the gut and help it flourish, then we're supporting a lot of other bodily things. Conditions commonly associated with the gut are pretty much all of them, but the biggest are the acne, rosacea, in eczema. So there's a 5R approach to gut healing that I use with all of my clients, and Gary uses, and kind of helps us guide what to do next. A lot of times we'll follow it in a 1 to 5, but for everyone that looks really different. So the first is remove. This is removing anything inflammatory, toxic, bacterial overgrowth in the gut. If anyone's heard of SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, where bacteria has come up into the small intestine. We see signs of bloating, acid reflux, stool floating. Those types of symptoms kind of give us a guess that there's some bacterial overgrowth in our gut. So first we want to remove those, and we have different tests here that we can see what exactly is going on, see what the good and bad bacteria look like. It's a stool test or a urine test.
Bridget,
Yep.
why would your stool float?
So a couple different things, but the biggest is that you're not breaking down fats well or not absorbing them well. So if you have malabsorption, that is a sign that there's bacterial overgrowth. And if you're not breaking them down well, your pancreas actually produces pancreatic enzymes that break down fat. So if it's having a tough time doing that, then the fat in the stool will make it float to the top.
But another reason it floats is if someone doesn't eat meat.
I haven't heard of that. Have you heard of that, Gary?
I don't eat meat and it doesn't.
I think, what did they say? There was research and I thought that they said vegans have the healthiest bowel movements. And I think they even said that they floated or they were very, I don't know that.
So there is some thought in Ayurveda that something in the middle, like not floating to the top and not sinking, is healthy. I haven't studied Ayurveda much, but it's Indian medicine. But there's that thought too. But really floating and being very oily, that's a sign of malabsorption or maldigestion in general. So for everyone, this is good, it's like water protected. So for everyone, number 1 looks really different. Sometimes it's even removing toxic thoughts. So we're getting really deep there. But first is remove. So second is replace. This is how if you're having a tough time breaking down. So it's like it's literally sitting on the top.
Yeah,
It's pretty nice.
beautiful.
So this is if your stool is floating, you're having trouble breaking down the fats. We have enzymes just specifically for that. You might know if you need to add enzymes if you're having just some discomfort. And then also betaine, which is stomach acid. Does anyone know anyone that's on an acid reducer, like omeprazole, and they have acid reflux? Yeah? Pretty much.
I'm not around, but that's not what.
Right, and there's so many people who come into the store and they say, oh, I have too much acid. A lot of times it's not enough acid, which is something we're now getting more into when we're moving away from this Western approach to medicine. So we can actually test that. So you can do a 1/4 cup of water and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in the morning, and you can drink that and you can time yourself to birth. It's a great way to it's not a foolproof, but it's a great way to see if you have enough stomach acid. So if you burp within 2 minutes, you do have adequate stomach acid. If it takes 10 minutes, probably not enough. I've had clients that never burp. So what reduces our acid? Stress, over medication with antibiotics. Those are the 2 biggest. Toxins, other things like that.
Can you just repeat how much?
Yeah.
Is it 1/4 cup water?
Yeah, 1/4 cup of water, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda.
Teaspoon, okay.
Yes.
1/4 cup. Yeah.
Yes,
that
I
too.
have to do that once.
Couldn't drink that one.
Yeah, that would not make you feel good.
No.
You drink it, and it's best first thing in the morning, and then time yourself how long it takes to burp. If you burp within that 2-minute range is usually the sweet spot, and you have enough acid. I also like to repeat it 2 more days.
Okay.
So if you burped at 5 minutes, do it the next day, see where you are.
Okay.
It's just kind of a clue, giving us clues of what's going on. Also, one of my other favorite ways, maybe a little bit more natural than just adding some betaine, some stomach acid, is bitters. We have a lot of bitter receptors on the tongue that actually stimulate our motility and stimulate production of acid in our stomach. So we really want a really acidic stomach. So that's our second, is replacing what might not be there. The third is repopulating. This is where probiotics become really important. And not only can you take a supplement, but they're also in your foods. Things like kimchi, sauerkraut, in the Whole Foods section or whatever grocery store you go to. It's right near the tofu usually. And all of those that are refrigerated are really nice. I really try with my clients to get in a serving a day or even a bite a day and think of it kind of as a supplement, using food as medicine. And so then we have repairing the gut. A couple different helpful things are L-glutamine or zinc carnosine. We have a product here, Ultra GI Replenish. Speaking of stool floating, this is really helpful for people with malabsorption. And it's a protein powder. It's really nice. It's a rice and pea protein, so okay for vegetarians. And I really enjoy this with my clients. And glutagenics, we have another product. This is repairing with the L-glutamine, but it's also a little bit calming with some aloe and GGL licorice. So this is kind of like my gut section right here if you come and look up. Another thing with replacing is to kind of make sure that you're going to the bathroom every day, and that being a really important step in removing toxins. So we have a couple different things for that. Magnesium, we have a powder or pills that I really like. Kind of a blend of different types of magnesium can be important. For kids, we have this really nice syrup. It's a nice tasting syrup. It has plums and psyllium and some fennel to kind of stimulate the motility. And to make a little slippery slope, we have some aloe. This will work really well if you have the magnesium that's drawing water into the gut, into the colon, but we really need a nice slippery slope to let it go. Kind of one of my favorite topics because it's so important. And then for probiotics, of course, we have a million upstairs. This one, Orthobiotic, is shelf stable. And then the enzymatical line is all the enzymes. So if you have any questions about the specifics for you, let us know. The last step, and probably one of the most important, is your lifestyle. This is really hard to change, and this is where Gary and I can really be of support too, to make sure you're implementing these things into your life. So sleeping 8 hours per night, we hear that, but it's really important in our overall health. 4 hours being repair for the mind and 4 hours being repair for physical. And then moving, of course, so getting in your 10,000 steps or sweating every day. Again, this goes back to individualization and what's most important for you. So then we have the liver, and why this is really important in supporting the liver, it's our removal of toxins. So a detoxification, have we heard this trendy term? It's actually something you're doing right now, and every minute of every day, you're detoxing. So the liver has 2 steps of detoxification, and so the first one is really making our fat-soluble vitamins into water-soluble. So we're conjugating them up, and the required nutrients here are a ton of B vitamins. We also have herbals, milk thistle, and antioxidants here. So that's the first phase of liver detoxification. The second is really we need some of our sulfur-rich amino acids. So these are found in kind of our sulfur vegetables, our cruciferous vegetables, and this is why maybe we have heard cruciferous vegetables are helpful for detoxification, and they are. And we have a couple supplements upstairs that are really helpful for that. Any questions on liver support? It's usually kind of a complicated topic, but when we think of it, we just need both steps.
What's a cruciferous vegetable?
Thank you for that. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those types of things. Kind of smell a little sulfur too when we cook them. Yeah, we're not allowed to cook them here, so get a little sticky. Yeah. Do we have another question? No? So just decreasing our intake of toxins. Of course, alcohol really stresses the liver out. Caffeine, unhealthy fats, processed oils and things like that. Processed foods, can be toxic and hard on the liver. Increasing the sulfur-rich cruciferous vegetables. And then a supplementation can be really nice. depending on your symptoms, we can kind of figure out what's the most important for you. And in reducing your environmental toxins, so Melissa's going to talk a little bit about that right after we talk about some anti-aging. So there's a whole, yeah.
Sorry. About when you detoxify the liver, does that help also like when people have kidney stones, gallbladder stones?
It can. Yep. When I think more of those, I think of diet and supporting those, but not necessarily as much the liver. Yeah, I wouldn't focus on that. Yeah. So a low glycemic index diet. Have we heard of glycemic index a little bit? So this is how foods affect your blood sugar. And so lower glycemic index foods are things like our non-starchy vegetables, like the cruciferous vegetables. Those would be an example of that. And reducing sugar, that'll spike that blood sugar a lot. So they've actually found in research that it delays skin aging. How cool is that? And it also decreases collagen and elasticity if we have a lot of sugary foods over a long period of time. And then there's a lot of thought around, they're called AGEPs, advanced glycation end products. What you want to know about those, if we had a lot of these, then it would produce more wrinkles, basically in aging in our skin, less dullness and more dullness and things like that. So actually two really cool things that are coming up this summer is if you're cooking meats, you want to marinate them in an acid. So something like a vinegar or a lemon. This actually reduces the impact on your aging in half. So that's pretty cool. And then also cooking meat using moist heat methods. So this would be things like braising, cooking in a crock pot. Grilling wouldn't necessarily be. It would be one of more of those dry heat methods. So if we're marinating, or for grilling, really making sure we're marinating that meat before for its effect on aging. So then we've heard a lot about how collagen, we have collagen in our skin, it gives it that plumpness. There's been a lot of thought around, we have a lot of collagen products now, but like doesn't necessarily feed like. So we really want to support collagen production with, again, antioxidants. So they're important there too. Another thing that's been well researched and thought out is this BioSil. So it has choline and silicon, really trying to help stimulate collagen production. And then again, our antioxidants. So our brightly colored fruits and vegetables, green tea, and dark chocolate. I really love antioxidants as a supplement as well because you really can't overdo it on them. So two other quick things, not much to say about, but it actually came up today that someone said, hey, I bruise really easily. Come to find out she does have really low iron. So iron and bruising go hand in hand. Also B12, which can be another form of anemia. Vitamin K for its blood clotting factor. And then also vitamin C has been well thought. And then poor wound healing. If you just have, if you're someone who has eczema and it's just not healing, supporting it with some more amino acids being the building blocks of protein. So if you're eating, some protein, or if you feel like you're not getting enough protein, or a supplement can be really helpful there as well, in the form of a powder. And then zinc and vitamin C there to support the immune system. And then I'm going to hand it over to Melissa, who's going to talk about some external things and why they're really important for more natural living.
Did anyone have questions for Bridgitte first?
Thanks. Yeah, you can ask me questions after.
So a couple of things I wanted to touch on first. The smoothie that we made had collagen in it. It's an easier way to take it. I personally like putting it in my tea or coffee if you drink it that way, because that particular one's unflavored and it's really easy to get it in. I like it for gut health and gut repair. I first learned about Vital Proteins and their company as a whole when I had my toddler, now toddler, but when I first had her and learned about gelatin, which is is a form of collagen, and the benefits that it has on gut health. When Bridgitte had talked about eczema, we have this one, Emily's, and Emily's was created by a local acupuncturist here in Massachusetts for his daughter who had eczema all over her face as a baby. So he created these great blends to help with it. And my daughter had it on her face and on her thighs. And when we moved back here, I took her to an acupuncturist and figured out that it was because I had dairy in her diet. It's her main source of food still, and so it finally healed, but in the process used the Emily's to help with that. So when Bridgitte had talked about eliminating dairy or gluten from your diet with eczema, I really saw results when we finally took it out of her diet. And over time, those things can heal, and some people are able to, once they heal their gut, to, in moderation, bring those things or introduce those things back in. So some of the things I'd really like to avoid in terms of what I put on my body, because we talk about toxins in our liver. Well, our skin is our biggest organ, so when we're lathering these things on our body, it really takes a toll because you're absorbing that into your skin. So parabens are one of those, and this is a small list. You can actually, there's a website or an app if you have a smartphone called Skin Deep, where you can type in different ingredients and figure out the toxicity level of individual ingredients. So these are just a few of them that I would avoid for lots of reasons. Paraben's the most common one that you'll see on a label that is written, the product is without now. Like a lot of companies are writing that on their products, that they don't have it, but they still have other things in it that personally I wouldn't use. For other people, they don't mind. And then fragrance, it's one that is really hard to sort of bypass. Like you'll see it and it might be an essential oil, so it's hard for some companies to get around labeling it even if it is clean. But if they put fragrance, you don't really know what it is, and a lot of those are very toxic. So this is just a different list. Like lead would be something that would be in lipstick. And for example, I had found one that I thought was really clean, and then I was like, this is great, and then I realized that it had dyes in it. So it didn't have all these other things I didn't want, but it still had red 40 in it, and I don't typically, not all the time, ingest dyes, but then I realized that I was putting it on my lips, and you do so much licking your lips or eating and all that, that I was consuming it still. So just something to think about. Titanium dioxide is it's like a whitening. So you might find it in sunscreen to make it white, or in toothpaste to make it white. And petroleum. Petroleum's oil, but petroleum's like the main ingredient in Vaseline. And I can remember growing up, like, using Vaseline on everything. Like, my mom had this huge jar in her nightstand.
What about Aquaphor? Is that the same? Yeah.
I don't know what's in it,
But it is.
but I've heard a lot, like, in the mom groups that I follow on Facebook and stuff, that being recommended, yeah.
Listen, can you talk about the retinol?
Sure. So, it's, like, chemically made, so not regular vitamin A, but like synthetic. That it's not good to put on, but it's often used as anti-aging. So we have other things that we use for anti-aging, but not retinol itself. Other things that I've used instead of trying to make my own things, but then I found that it was much easier to just buy stuff, and I have really good access to it. So coconut oil is really cool as a makeup remover. It's really easy. It's actually cleansing. Essential oils can be great for your skin. I I've made like hand soap or face wash out of avocado oil, Castile soap, raw honey. You can replace your toner with apple cider vinegar. You can put it on a cotton ball instead and do it that way. You can use honey and a little bit of sea salt and use it for a scrub. So all things that you could do in place of other things that aren't very expensive. One thing that I've been doing lately is using castor oil and cedarwood oil and trying to regrow my eyebrows.
Ooh.
And my eyelashes, a little vain, I know, but if you're looking for some regrowth, cedarwood oil is really good. Gary's touching his head.
Would it work?
Really good. I don't know about your situation. I do know that postpartum cedarwood oil helped my hair grow back in.
Which
So,
oil?
Cedarwood, it's essential oil. It also helps with sleep. Some people feel that it gives them very lucid dreams.
Mhm.
I don't like it. I personally like it. It knocks me out.
So if you were trying to regrow hair, like here,
Yeah.
or you know, on your head, would you like to massage it in? Is
You
it
can, or you can, I don't wash my hair every day, so I just would put some soap and a couple drops. I keep it in the shower
Yeah.
and then put it in your shampoo and do it that way.
Oh, okay. Because a lot of these oils, it's like really hard to get them out. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
castor oil is pretty thick. Cedarwood oil is a thicker, like resin oil, but you can always, if you have trouble getting it out, warm it in your hands first, or in the shower. It stays pretty hot anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a
Okay.
couple drops or you could put it on at night. You could always put it in like a spray bottle
Uh-huh.
and mix it with water and alcohol as like a toner and spray it on. There's one other slide that, gauging from the group, I don't feel is as relevant, but different things people don't think of is like, even if you don't wear makeup, you want to take off all the dirt and everything that you've gotten on your face during the day to remove those toxins. And it's really great as part of your routine at night to help with the stress and relaxation. It gets your body realizing, okay, it's time for bed. I'm gonna do this and cleanse and go to sleep, and then you aren't sleeping in all that dirt and you don't have dirt on your pillowcase. That's all. But we have 2 raffles in the back. Alakia is a really awesome company that we work with. They, like Cebu, give back to the communities that they are a part of. So,
Any questions on skin? Any comments, thoughts?
Are there any scrubs that you'd recommend for removing makeup? I got a question from my wife. She wants to know what you'd recommend to remove makeup at night.
I love the Cebu scrub. Oh my gosh. It's wonderful. It's a body and face scrub, which you wouldn't think go together. But it's like nice enough that it's gentle enough you can use it on your face. But it's really nice at getting out that outer layer of makeup.
Is that upstairs?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is she using like mascara and stuff? If she just took a little coconut oil on a cotton ball, it gets makeup off like a champ.
It
Okay.
does. It's really nice.
Okay, ready?
Yep. Alright.
Did she collect?
Okay, ready?
So this is for this one.
So the last 3 are 6, 3, 5.
Yay! Alright. With those gorgeous stuff, we have some facial mist, some cleanser, and then this, you're welcome. The last 3 of this one is 625. Alright. And then Andy and John have agreed, our wonderful owners, to do 15% off of all the products that we have talked about So external, internal, you name it. So we'll be upstairs answering questions if you need some more specific advice. Gary and I are both here for consultations. We're $150 for an hour and $75 for a half hour. Like I said, the individualization piece is really important, but we're always here for questions too. We also have a sign up if you're not a part of our newsletter. We'd love you to get all of the great information we send out via email. Gary and I write monthly blogs and different things like that. So thank you so much for coming and rating the score. Yeah, we're all here.